Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Starcraft 2 replay cast. Today it's a 1 vs 1 on Lerilak Crest between our blue Terran player, Polt, and on the left side of the map we have our teal Protoss player, Neeb. So it's going to be directly across from each other spawning situation. And we are going to speed this up to the 8x mark till the 2-minute point of the game when everything starts to get pretty good. And it looks like the probe going to take the first spot and find his opponent right off the bat. And the CV and the probe there going at it for a minute. Reaper now out on the map, going across the way here. It looks like we have a reactor build first for the Terran. Reaper moving on out. And we'll get some scouting information shortly. Both sides expanding pretty quickly. Whose is going to come up first? Looks like the Protoss is going to be coming up much faster than the Terran. And Adepts are on the way for the Protoss. And we have an SCV that took all the wrong places. Didn't find his opponent till the very last minute there. And Adept shoots the Reaper once. We're just going to heal up shortly here. Going to try and chase down the Reaper. And transfer right on him, but cancels it. Now the SCV all the way back to the base. Mothership core out on the map for the Protoss. And a robo facility coming up for the Protoss. And that researching warp gate going on. Both Adepts going to transfer out a little bit here. Going to spot that Reaper. And doesn't quite get him though. A little bit too fast for those Adepts. We're going to try and transfer again. Loses them a little bit in the weeds there. And can't quite catch that Reaper just yet. 4 Marines out on the field here. Starport, a sort of a 1-1-1 build there, but 2-1-1. And Widow Mines and the Starport coming up shortly. And may go for some Widow Mine drops in the Protoss base. But the 2 Adepts are on the way. However, 6 Marines should be able to deal with them. But a 3rd Adept going to be a little bit of trouble. Now we're going to be transferring forward here and going to bring up those supply depots, prevent that from happening. And the Adepts take a decent chunk of damage, but no mortal damage just yet. There they go. And may lose one of these Adepts, but can't quite catch up to him. Going to transfer back here for a potential, but nope, cancels it. Figured he would cancel that, as that wouldn't have been a very clever idea. Now the Reaper inside the Protoss base here, going to try and get some probe kills. Has 1 kill, but loses that Reaper to a bunch of probes, and the Mothership core finished it off. Warp Prism on the way for the Protoss. And the Observer now going to check out the Terran base here and start the medevac. Unable to come out. Not enough supply depots on the map here. There goes one, allowing that to start creating. And 1 Marauder on the field coming out from that barracks there. And may swap the reactor here with the barracks. And additional barracks now coming up. Disruptors coming out for the Protoss there. A Gravatic drive. And a Sentry, couple Stalkers ready to go. And that Disruptor is going to hit that Widow Mine there. Very nice. Nova's that, takes that out. Now the Terran moving out. And doesn't have quite a force here. Only has a couple medevacs and a limited amount of troops. Picks up 1 Marine. I'm going to drop them there on the other side to check this expansion here. Not going to find anything. I'm going to try and take out the rocks. Protoss now with 2 disruptors. Going to move into the Terran base. Going to try and Nova a whole bunch of SCVs. And one of my favorite things in Legacy of the Void is dropping disruptors on SCVs. Incredibly effective. Hard to get away from it with the slow movement of the SCVs. You can see loses a ton of SCVs there. So many SCVs. And if I could just check those disruptors to see how many units were lost. 15 units lost for the Terran there. I think only 1 or 2 of those were other units other than SCVs. And now coming on back to base with those disruptors, a very excellent drop there, killed numerous SCVs, at least 10 of them. And a lonely Marine there gets taken out by 3 Adepts. And another Nexus coming up here shortly for the Protoss. And that Observer checking out everything that is going on, seeing all these medevacs moving out, moving away every move of Polt, and the Observer gets taken out there by that Comsat. And I was expecting that as well. Disruptors get a couple more kills by the looks of it, I think. But not entirely effective. I tried to get a pylon there, but had to run away. The Stalker amount is just too much for the Terran to handle right now. I'm going to be attacking the Nexus over on the left side. And going to try and finish it off. Might not be able to, though. I'm going to have to pick up in those medevacs and get on out of there. Meanwhile, still pumping out Marines and Marauders. And Warp Prism, I'm going to try and chase down these medevacs and watch where they're going. And should be able to spot them. Might be just too far away. And it is going to be sending them all the way around the map. Possibly all the way to the Terran expansion. A couple Liberators on the map. And a Colossus is coming soon. You don't see those all the time in Legacy of the Void. Sort of got phased out to some degree. They are still quite useful indeed. But with the advent of the Disruptor, it is just so good. And here comes 2 Novas. Oh, so many SCV kills. Unbelievable. The Disruptor drops lately are just too much for most Terrans to handle. And even Polt, one of the best players, at least one of the better players, depending on how you want to look at it. Either way, a very, very, very good player, Grandmaster player. Even they fall to the Disruptor play. And lost so many units, 41 units lost for the Terran, and most of which are SCVs. Maybe upwards of 30 SCVs have been lost to those Disruptors. Just an amazing amount of units lost to those Disruptors so far. And Liberator's gonna slowly push in here and go in defensive mode. We have 8 kills and 18 kills on the other one. So a total of 26 kills. I believe that's all SCVs too. About 26 SCVs killed with those Disruptors. Looks like the Disruptor's gonna be moving around here. Gonna try and find somewhere else to hit. And possibly in the expansion again. Marines at the expansion in the Protoss base up here. However, some Stalker's gonna come and regulate that situation. Meanwhile, the main ball still outside the base. Can't really push in too well. Too many Stalkers. And that Colossus is a little scary as well. Neither side really attacking there. And it looks like he was going after that Assimilator, but couldn't quite take it down. Meanwhile, the Protoss army was just sort of sitting around for a moment there. And these Liberators are moving in slowly, creating a further and further defensive line there. And if the Protoss moves into that, they are going to be hurting something awful. All of those Liberators going to do a lot of damage. And really wants to disrupt and Nova this group of infantry here. And now the Stalkers move up real quick, take out 1 or 2 of those Liberators. And Colossus is going to take advantage of that short Liberator range, get around the side of it. And one of those Liberators is going to have to get up and face the other way there, face that corner and cover this area. One does, just comes in. And Protoss sort of stuck in his base right now. I'm sure he's just fine with that as he is mining over there quite efficiently and without much disruption at all. Just the occasional drop of a few Marines pushing in even closer. Here comes a Nova and misses just about everything there. And Liberator's getting closer and closer. There's a Viking doing a patrol, waiting for that Warp Prism to come along so that he can spot and finish that off. Warp Prism gonna really trying for that Nova, but gonna miss another one and pick it up. Doesn't look like he's having too much luck with the Nova in terms of actually attacking these units. And units push in for a moment there and get roasted by the multiple Colossi. And Liberators pushing in even further now. Looks like some Stalkers were in the line there, but they moved out just in time. And some siege tanks would be very, very useful right now. Down here at the bottom and the back side could potentially reach some of these units here, or potentially reach as far as the Liberators are, as the Liberator and siege tank damage is quite a lot. That's going to push it right on the Protoss here, and in defensive mode takes out a good number of units right off the bat there. A huge attack. Now these Stalkers moving right under those Liberators, and we'll be able to take them out pretty quickly, but the Liberators still firing back and just about one-shotting, two-shotting these units here. And Terran getting messed up pretty bad here, losing this fight to those Colossi, and now gonna have to pack up and run away. But meanwhile, back at the base here, Zealots have been released and destroyed all of those SCVs, and some of them were even in the main base there. That warp prism moved all the way over there, started warping in those units, moved around that Viking too, went a long way around. And those Liberators were just not enough, and he would have stayed in the fight had he not lost this expansion here. But all of those Zealots took out so many of those SCVs. You can see units lost, 157 units lost. And you can see the resources are pretty similar, but all of those losses, most of those losses, maybe even upwards of 80% of them were SCVs. So many SCVs lost this game to those Novas and to these Zealot drops here. But once again, the Nova drops from the Protoss, especially against Terran, are just so incredibly good, and they kill so many SCVs. I've casted numerous games lately where people are using disruptor drops, and they are just insanely good. So hope you guys take that as a lesson learned and go ahead and start dropping some of those disruptors on Terran. The reason why I say it works a little bit better on Terran is typically Zerg are a little bit better reacting in terms of getting a spore colony up and preventing that at least a little bit to some degree, and they also have the queens there to attack warp prisms, so they just have slightly better defense. And when I mean slightly, I do mean slightly, than the Terran in terms of the drops and defending against the drops like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the replay, and I will see you guys next time.